I got to work a little bit before 7 for an early meeting. About half an hour past 7, I received a text from my wife that there was a lot of smoke and ash.
When I got to school, I immediately knew something was really wrong when students started running in from the playground because there were massive pieces of wood and pine cones falling on fire.
A decision was made, I would say 9 minutes, to evacuate the entire hospital.
I got the call that, any available bus, we need to respond to Ponderosa Elementary School for an evacuation.
It escalated very quickly. Went from orange to the smoke cloud was right over our school.
But that smoke cloud was dark and black, and it was unlike any smoke cloud I had ever seen.
We were quickly moved back into the cafeteria and then shortly onto the bus.
Evacuating a hospital, I could best describe it as controlled chaos. You're dealing with high emotions, you're dealing with sick individuals, you're dealing with equipment.
I've worked for Paradise for many, many years, and I knew all my bus drivers, and I said, "Who are you?" "Well, I'm Kevin." 3 months on the job.
Mary and Abby were gracious enough to stay with me on the bus so that I had some help with the students in what I had no idea would turn into a 6-hour trip.
Once they were all in their cars, then I was able to get in my truck and start it.
Within 30 minutes of us getting onto the trip, the sky was completely black.
Teacher, what time is it? Is it midnight? And it was 9.
The road gridlocked, and then it would kind of open up for a little bit. I started following a fire truck thinking people would move out of their way, but cars were starting to break down.
McDonald's was on fire on the left side of the bus. I could see in the rearview mirror a 250-foot tall pine tree just explode.
So I ended up trapped next to the fire truck on our right, and I've got a burning SUV on my left. So I've got my jacket up against the window to kind of block the heat coming off of that.
With the embers and the wind and just the massive trees that we were under, we just kept praying that, that we would, if it had to be, that we would die of smoke inhalation. We didn't want those children to suffer.
I recorded a video to my wife and kids, and then I buried it in my center console, hoping it would make it through. Right after I recorded it and I put it away, all of a sudden I hear this boom, and this truck that had been on fire next to me was now laying on its side, and it was this bulldozer had cleared it. And I was able to make it back out onto the road, and I went back up to the hospital.
I think it was urgent to get off the bus and find water because these kids were so dehydrated from the smoke and the heat.
I told Kevin that kids were starting to fall asleep. It was like he already had thought about it coming, and he took his shirt off and then took his undershirt off.
Started ripping my undershirt into small squares.
We had enough to just get there's 22 kids, get the rags a little bit wet.
Ended up essentially making an impromptu breathing mask for the students.
We kind of divided and conquered, so Kevin's driving and he's switching lanes, and I just remember walking up and down the aisle, and we were both attending to kids as needed.
I get up to the top of the road and just head back to the hospital, and several other people from my team were right behind me, and we get back there and we're hugging and kind of laughing at the absurdity of it, and we look around and see other people are pulling them into this hospital parking lot because they couldn't get farther down the street, or they're looking for help. So we break back into the hospital to get equipment, medication, and even just food and drinks. And then we start setting up a triage unit. This is all emergency 101.
We got to Highway 99 and we could see the sky again. We had time to just be thankful that we made it out.
Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that main road again was opened up enough to attempt another evacuation. We started loading up patients into the ambulances and other police vehicles. We just kind of cruised out of there all in this big caravan until we made it all the way down to Oroville.
My main focus at that point was that I'm not leaving until each of these kids is back together, reunited with their families.
I remember one little boy, he just ran and hugged his dad and started sobbing, and then the dad started crying, and then the dad hugged me, and then I started crying.
I just remember my wife just jumping up and wrapping her legs around me and just and my kids crying. And
the tragedy and the loss of life that happened in Paradise was significant, yet that loss of life could have been significantly higher.
There were so many heroes and so many people making the right choice and the right decisions that day to help other people. And it's an honorable group to be included in.